Rian had lived among the stars for 10 years, but nothing in that time had prepared him for this day. The transport shuttle from the orbiting station had just landed at Port Terran. From its open hatch, a group of tall, silver-skinned beings stepped onto the platform, their clothes shimmering faintly under the bright twin suns. At the center of the group was Lyra Rian's new wife. She was not human, but she had chosen him in a rare union between species. Her people, the Alari, valued bonds across worlds, and their ceremonies were rich with songs and light. They had been married only 2 weeks ago, and Rian was still learning her customs. She walked toward him now, her dark eyes bright with purpose. Behind her trailed another Alari woman, slightly younger, with the same high brow and fine features. This must be her sister, Selen, Rian. Lyra said in her soft, musical voice. I have an important request. Rian smiled, trying to guess. Maybe she wanted to see the floating markets again, or visit the human museum. What is it? He asked. Lyra's single quotes gaze grew serious. Selen needs to learn about humans, how you live, how you work, how you speak. You're the one I trust to. Teach her. Rian blinked. Teach her about humans. Why me? You understand both worlds, Lyra said. You live by human customs, but you also respect Alari ways. Selen will listen to you. Selen stepped forward, tilting her head in a curious gesture. I have studied human languages, she said slowly, her words precise. But I have never lived among your kind. My next duty will take me to Earth itself. I must be ready. It was a surprising request. Rian knew the Alari rarely sent their younger members into human territory without long training. If Selen was going soon, something important must be happening. He nodded slowly. All right, I'll help, but this will take time. That is why we came now, Lyra replied. Selen will stay with us for 3 moons. Rian glanced at the spaceport, where cargo drones hummed past. We should get home. The city will be busy today. As they walked to his hovercar, Rian studied Selen from the corner of his eye. She moved with the smooth precision of someone trained in both grace and discipline. But there was also a spark of curiosity. Her gaze darted to every detail. The way a human worker shouted instructions to a loader, the aroma drifting from a food stall, the flicker of neon signs above shop doors. When they reached Rian's apartment in the High Spire district, Selen paused at the window. From here, the whole city stretched out in layers, roads weaving between towers, air cars drifting in quiet lines, and beyond, the deep blue curve of the ocean. It is alive. Selen said softly. That's one way to put it, Rian replied. With a smile, humans like to keep things moving. Lyra placed a hand on her sister's arm. Rian will show you what that means. They began the first lesson that evening. Rian took Selen to the central plaza, where hundreds of people from many worlds mingled. Traders called out their wares, children chased small floating toys, and musicians played on the steps of the council building. This is normal for us, Rian explained. We talk to strangers, we make trades, we share food. For humans, interaction builds trust. Selen's eyes followed a group of humans laughing together. You do not guard your speech. You let others hear your thoughts, Rian chuckled. Sometimes too much. But yes, speaking openly is part of our nature. She tried speaking to a vendor, buying a small bag of roasted seeds. Her accent was heavy, but the vendor smiled and thanked her. As they walked back, Selen asked questions about everything: how humans measured time, why they shook hands, what it meant when someone smiled without speaking. Rian answered patiently, though some customs were hard to explain later. As the city lights glowed against the dark sky, Lyra sat beside Rian on the balcony. Thank you, she said quietly. Selen learns quickly, but this is more than training. She needs to understand the human spirit. Rian looked at the younger Alari inside, carefully studying a human news broadcast. I think she'll do fine, he said. Lyra's gaze turned distant, as if she were remembering something far away. I hope so. Her mission will not be easy. That caught Rian's attention. Mission. But Lyra only shook her head. In time, you will know. For now, just teach her. And so it began 3 moons of learning, exploration, and unexpected challenges. Rian had no idea that by the end, Selen's understanding of humans would change more than just her future. It would decide the fate of two worlds. The next morning, Rian found Selen standing on the balcony, staring at the sunrise. The twin suns rose over the ocean, turning the water into bands of gold and crimson. The wind carried the distant hum of ships leaving the port. "You are awake early," Rian said, stepping beside her. "In my world, we rise with the first light," Selen replied. "But here, I hear movement long before the sun appears. Humans work even in the dark," Rian smiled. "That's because we never like to waste time. Let's start today's lesson with something simple: public transport." They left the tower and walked to the nearest hover tram station. The platform was crowded. People of many worlds stood together, some speaking loudly, others lost in their own thoughts. Selen glanced around. No one here knows each other, yet they share the space. "That's part of living in a city," Rian explained. "Humans often share resources. You might stand beside someone you've never met, but you treat them as part of the same journey." When the tram arrived, Selen hesitated before stepping inside. The doors slid open, and a mix of scent soil, fresh bread, and metal filled the air. Rian led her to a seat. Across from them, a young boy stared at Selen's silver skin with wide eyes. Selen looked back, uncertain. Rian leaned close and whispered, "He's curious. If you smile, he'll know you're friendly." Selen tried, and the boy grinned before hiding behind his mother. "It works," she said softly, almost surprised. They rode to the central market district. The streets were already alive with activity. Vendors shouted prices, delivery drones zipped overhead, and performers played strange instruments. Rian bought 2 cups of steaming drink from a stall and handed one to Selen. "This is Kavra," he said. "Humans drink it in the morning to wake up." Selen sipped and blinked. "It is sharp, but warm. Your people use taste as energy." "That's one way to put it," Rian laughed. As they walked, Rian pointed out details: the haggling between a shopkeeper and a customer, the way friends greeted each other, the little hand signs that meant wait or come closer. Selen observed closely, her sharp mind storing every movement. Then, a sudden commotion broke out. A small cargo hauler had tipped over, scattering crates into the street. People rushed to help. Selen froze, unsure what to do, but Rian ran forward and lifted one end of a crate so an older man could pull it aside. "Come on," Rian called. Selen joined in, lifting a crate with surprising strength. The humans nearby thanked her, and one woman handed her a small ribbon in thanks. "What is this?" Selen asked as they walked away. "A token of gratitude," Rian said. "Humans like to give something when someone helps them. It can be small, but it means a lot." Selen tucked the ribbon into the folds of her clothing. "I see. Helping without being asked is valued." "That's right," Rian replied. "It builds trust. Just like I told you." By the afternoon, they visited the learning hall-wide building where humans and aliens studied together. Rian showed Selen how humans used digital archives, how they debated ideas, and how they worked in teams. Selen tilted her head. "You speak openly, even when you disagree. On my world, we keep conflict private." Rian nodded. "Humans believe that discussing problems in the open can lead to solutions. Sometimes we argue, but that's part of learning." When they returned home, Lyra was waiting with a meal. The 3 of them sat together, sharing stories of the day. Selen described the market, the Kavra drink, and the ribbon she had received. Lyra smiled. "You are beginning to understand them." But Selen's eyes turned serious. "Your people are vulnerable. You trust quickly. You leave yourselves open to strangers. Is this not dangerous?" Rian leaned back. "It can be. But it also means we can form alliances fast. It's one of the reasons humans have survived in so many places." That night, as Selen rested, Lyra spoke quietly to Rian on the balcony. "You're teaching her well. But there's something you should know: her mission to Earth is not just diplomatic. There are forces moving in the shadows. If she cannot connect with humans, the talks may fail before they even begin." Rian's brows drew together. "You should have told me sooner." "I could not," Lyra said. It is not my secret to give. Rian looked at the city lights below. He had agreed to teach Selen about human life, but now he understood the weight of that task. Her success could shape the future of both their peoples, and failure might bring the first real conflict between humans and the Aelri. In the quiet of the night, Selen slept, unaware that her lessons were no longer just preparation, they were the first steps in preventing a war. The third day of Selen's training began with clear skies and the hum of the morning traffic. Rian planned to teach her about human work culture. He believed that understanding how humans earn their living would be important for her mission. They took the hover tram to the industrial district. Towering warehouses stretched along the road, and the air smelled faintly of oil and hot metal. Workers moved between cargo bays, some guiding machines, others carrying boxes. This is where goods from many worlds are stored before they are sent to different cities. Rian explained. Humans believe in efficiency, keeping things moving fast. Selen watched the workers closely. They are organized, but they still speak and laugh while working. In my world, tasks are done in silence for focus. Rian smiled. Humans think talking helps teamwork. Even a joke can make the work lighter. They entered a large repair hangar where Rian's friend Mara was fixing a cargo hauler. Sparks danced from her welding tool. She looked up and waved. Rian. And who's this? This is Selen. Rian said. She's learning about human ways. Mara grinned and held out her hand. Welcome. Selen stared at the hand for a moment before glancing at Rian. He gave a small nod. She reached out and shook it, though her grip was stiff. That's a handshake, Rian explained. It's how humans greet in many places. Mara laughed. You'll get the hang of it. She handed Selen a small tool. Want to help? Just hold this steady. Selen obeyed, keeping the tool perfectly still while Mara worked. When the job was done, Mara patted Selen on the shoulder. Good work. Selen looked at the spot where Mara's hand had touched her and frowned. Later, as they left the hangar, she asked Rian, why did she strike my shoulder? Is that a challenge? Rian chuckled. That wasn't a strike. It was a friendly gesture. Humans do it to show approval. Selen shook her head slowly. Your customs are full of hidden meanings. A simple movement can mean so many things. That's why you're here, Rian said. To learn the difference, they stopped for lunch at a small street cafe. The place was busy, and a man at the next table overheard Selen asking about human values you want to know about. Humans? The man said with a grin. We're stubborn. That's our secret, no matter how hard things get. We keep going. Selen tilted her head. Even when the outcome is hopeless, especially then. The man replied, sometimes we win just because we refuse to quit. Rian could see Selen thinking deeply about that answer. She was beginning to understand that human resilience was not just a word, it was a way of life. But the day took a turn in the afternoon. Rian decided to show Selen how humans handle disagreements in public. They walked into the open court area outside the council building, where a small crowd had gathered. Two merchants were arguing over a shipment. Voices rose, hands waved, and the tension grew. Selen stepped forward without warning. You will stop shouting. Speak in turns, or you will lose honor. The crowd went silent for a moment, then laughter broke out. One of the merchants looked offended. Who are you two? Tell us how to speak. Selen stood tall. I am here to observe, but disorder is wasteful. Your people must learn discipline. That was the wrong thing to say. The crowd murmured, some amused, others irritated. Rian quickly stepped in, guiding Selen away before things escalated. Once they were clear, he said gently, Selen, you can't talk to humans like that in public. We value freedom, even if it means we argue in messy ways. But they were not resolving the issue. Selen said, in my world, such disputes are handled swiftly. I know, Rian replied. But here, people decide for themselves how to handle disagreements. If you try to force order, they'll see it as an insult. Selen was silent for a while as they walked. Her silver eyes looked thoughtful. But there was a trace of frustration. Your people's freedom makes them strong, but also slow. Rian smiled faintly. It's a trait we accept. That evening, Lyra listened as Rian told her about the misunderstanding. She didn't scold Selin. Instead, she said, "This is why you must keep learning. It's not enough to know the words, you must feel the way humans think." Selin nodded. "I will try again." Later that night, while the city lights reflected on the ocean, Selin stood at the balcony alone. She thought of the man in the cafe who said humans kept going no matter what. She thought of the crowd that laughed instead of obeying her. Perhaps, she realized, humans did not measure strength the same way her people did. And if she wanted to succeed on her mission, she would have to see the world through their eyes. Not just her own. Far above, a small Alari scout ship drifted in high orbit. Its crew watched the city through silent scanners, their orders clear: observe and report. Selin did not know they were there, but soon their presence would shape her path in ways she could not imagine. A light rain fell over the city the next morning, turning the streets into mirrors. Rian suggested they take a quieter day, but Selin refused. "If I am to learn the human way, I must see it in all weather," she said firmly. Rian smiled at her determination. "All right, today, you'll navigate on your own. I'll give you a destination and you'll get there without me guiding you." Selin straightened. "I accept." He handed her a small holo-map device. "You'll go to the old docks by the South Pier. There's a market there. Find a merchant named Tamir. He'll give you something and you'll bring it back here. That's all you need to know," Lyra added, "and remember, be patient. The South Pier is full of humans who live differently from the Central District." Selin nodded once and left the tower. The hover tram ride took her across the city, past crowded intersections and high bridges that stretched over the sea. She stepped off at the South Pier station and found herself in a place very different from the bright center of the city. Here, the streets were narrow, the air smelled of salt and fish, and the buildings leaned close together like old friends. Humans here spoke quickly, sometimes overlapping each other's words. They laughed loudly, bargained with sharp gestures, and moved through the rain as if they didn't notice it. Selin kept her posture calm, but her senses were alert. She stopped at a food stall to ask for directions. The old man behind the counter pointed toward the far end of the pier. "Tamir's place is near the red warehouse. You can't miss it." She thanked him, remembering to smile just as Rian had taught her. Halfway there, she noticed a commotion ahead. A group of children were gathered around something on the ground. As she approached, she saw a small delivery drone tipped over, its cargo hatch stuck open. A few crates had rolled into the street. One boy tried to lift the drone, but it was too heavy. Selin stepped forward, moved back. She lifted the drone with ease and set it upright. The children cheered. "Thank you, miss," one of them said. "The owner's shop is just there." Selin followed their pointing hands and saw a woman rushing out of a nearby doorway. "Oh, thank the stars. That's my drone," the woman exclaimed. "You saved me from losing a whole day's work." The woman handed Selin a small packet wrapped in cloth. "For your trouble. It's just sweets, but they're fresh." Selin accepted it carefully. "Humans give gifts for help," she murmured to herself, recalling Rian's lesson. Finally, she reached the red warehouse. Tamir's shop was a small, dim space filled with crates from many worlds. A tall man with a weathered face stood behind the counter. "You must be Rian's friend," Tamir said. "I have something for you." He handed her a sealed container marked with a simple crest. "Tell him the delivery from the northern colony arrived safely." Selin took the container and turned to leave, but as she stepped outside, she noticed two men watching her from across the street. They were dressed in plain work clothes, but their eyes followed her closely. She began walking toward the tram station, but the men started moving too, keeping their distance but never losing sight of her. Selin's training told her this could be a test or a threat. Humans often moved in unpredictable ways, but she had learned enough to know this was not casual curiosity. She changed direction, weaving through side streets, pretending to look at shop displays while keeping track of their position. They followed every turn. Finally, she ducked into a narrow alley that opened onto a busy fish market. The smell was strong, and the air was thick with voices. She moved quickly through the crowd, using the humans' own tendency to focus on their business as cover. When she reached the tram station, She glanced back. The men were gone. The ride back to the central district felt longer than before. She kept her hand on the sealed container, wondering if the men had been after it. When she arrived at Rion's apartment, he opened the door and saw her wet from the rain. "You made it back. Any trouble?" Selin placed the container on the table. "I found Tamir, but 2 men followed me. I lost them in the market." Rion's expression darkened. "Did they speak to you?" "No, but they did not hide their interest." Lyra stepped forward. "This is why I warn you. There are those who watch for weakness in both our peoples. You did well to return safely." Selin hesitated before speaking. "I remember the lessons. I spoke politely to strangers. I accepted a gift for helping, and I avoided direct confrontation. These are the human ways, yes?" Rion smiled faintly. "Yes, and you adapted when things changed. That's even more important." As Selin dried her clothes and sat with the warm drink Lyra gave her, she thought about the day. She had faced something unexpected without relying on force, and she had succeeded. Perhaps she was beginning to understand what made humans strong, quick thinking, flexibility, and the ability to blend into the flow of life without losing purpose. Far above, the Alari scout ship still watched. Inside, a silent report was sent to their command. "The human tutor's methods are working. The trainee is learning faster than expected." Selin did not know it yet, but her path was leading her toward a challenge far greater than avoiding to strangers in the rain. The real test was coming, and it would decide more than her mission. It would decide the trust between 2 worlds. The rain had cleared by morning, leaving the streets washed clean and the air smelling of the sea. Rion was repairing a small food processor in the kitchen. When the apartment security chime sounded, he glanced at the door screen. 2 men stood outside, their faces partly shadowed by the morning light. Rion felt a quiet warning in his mind. He had seen them before. Selin walked into the room, holding a data tablet. She froze when she saw the men on the screen. "Those are the ones from the pier," she said. Lyra stepped forward. "Do not open the door." But Rion was already moving to the entrance. "If we don't hear them out, they'll just follow. You again. Stay behind me." The door slid open. The taller man spoke first. "We have no trouble with you. We only wish to talk to the Alari woman." Selin's posture straightened. "What is your purpose?" The shorter man smiled, but it was the kind of smile that carried no warmth. "We hear you are here to learn about humans. We can show you things your tutor will not." Rion's tone hardened. "She doesn't need your help. Perhaps," the taller man said, "but what we offer will make her mission easier. There are truths about your people and ours that officials hide." Selin studied them in silence. Part of her training told her to listen to all sources before forming judgment, but another part, learned from Rion, reminded her that humans sometimes hid dangerous intentions behind kind words. "What do you want in return?" she asked finally. The taller man spread his hands. "Only for you to see what we see. Come with us for 1 hour. Then decide." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "This is a trap." Rion looked at Selin. "If you go, you don't go alone. And I choose where we meet." The men exchanged a glance, then nodded. 1 hour. There's a public cafe by the East Docks. Noon. After they left, Rion turned to Selin. "This is risky. But if you want to understand humans, you need to know how to face people like them." Lyra disagreed. "They could be trying to pull her into something that harms both sides." Selin met her sister's gaze. "If they mean harm, I will know. But I must see what they want. It is part of my mission." At noon, they arrived at the cafe. The place was busy, with people moving in and out, carrying trays of food. The 2 men sat at a corner table, away from the main crowd. Rion stayed beside Selin as they sat. The taller man leaned forward. "We work with traders, independent ones. We hear things before the council does. There are whispers that your people plan to take control of a human colony in the outer rim." Selin's eyes narrowed. "That is not our way." The shorter man shrugged. "Perhaps not officially. But if it happens, there will be resistance, and resistance means conflict. We believe you are here to soften humans before that day comes." Rion spoke sharply. "She's here to learn, nothing more. then learning the truth should not trouble her. The taller man said, "Come with us now, and we'll show you." Evidence, cargo manifests, intercepted messages, proof that things are moving faster than you think. Selin felt a weight in her chest. If what they said was false, it was meant to divide her from Rian. If it was true, she had to know. She made her decision. "Show me." The men led them through a series of narrow streets to an old storage building near the docks. Inside, dim lights flickered over stacked crates. The taller man pulled a data chip from his pocket and slid it into a terminal. A list of shipments appeared, dates, locations, and destinations. Some were marked with both human and Alari codes. "These are trade routes," Rian said. "Not proof of takeover." "Look closer," the shorter man insisted. "See the increase in weapon shipments to Outer Rim stations. Someone is preparing for something big." Selin studied the list. The patterns were unusual, but patterns alone did not prove the men's story. Before she could ask more, the building's side door banged open. Four other men entered, blocking the exit. The taller man's voice grew cold. "We could have sold this information to anyone, but we thought you should see it. Now you'll come with us and hear the rest without your human guide." Rian stepped in front of Selin. "Not happening." One of the newcomers moved closer, but Selin raised her voice sharply. "If you believe I am here to understand humans, then understand this. Forcing someone will make them your enemy." The men hesitated. Her calm tone and unflinching gaze carried a weight. They had not expected. In that pause, Rian reached for a small distress beacon on his wrist and tapped it twice. Outside, the faint sound of approaching patrol drones filled the air. The taller man cursed under his breath. "This is not finished." He gestured for the others to leave. When they were gone, Rian turned to Selin. "You see now why we're careful about who we listen to." Selin nodded slowly. "They spoke of truths, but their methods betrayed them. This is the difference. You taught me humans value freedom, but also choice. Without choice, there's no trust." Lyra met them at the apartment when they returned. She listened to the story without interrupting. "You handled it well," she said finally. "But the fact that they sought you out means your presence here is already known to more than the council." That night, Selin stood at the balcony, watching the city lights ripple across the water. She thought of the men's claims, of the weapon shipments, and of the way they tried to pull her away from Rian. She was beginning to see the larger picture. The mission was not only about learning human ways. It was about proving that humans and Alari could trust each other, even when shadows moved between them. And she understood something else. From this point forward, every choice she made would be tested. The council chamber was silent as Aaron stood in the center. Around him sat the 12 members of the United Spheres Council, their expressions unreadable. The air was heavy, not with anger, but with expectation. It was a trial, but not the kind where guilt was judged. This was a trial of trust. The events of the last week had shaken the fragile peace between humans and the Renari. Rumors had spread that some humans could not be trusted with Renari secrets. Aaron had been accused of hiding something important, while he knew the truth. Proving it to beings who had lived for centuries was another matter. Lyra and her sister Nea were there, seated among the witnesses. They had spoken on his behalf already. But the council required more than words. They demanded proof. Aaron of Earth, the eldest council member, Sarath, spoke, his voice calm but deep. "You have shown courage. You have shown skill. But courage without truth can be dangerous. Tell us, why did you not share the full details of the artifact you found?" Aaron took a slow breath. "Because if the wrong hands got to it first, this entire alliance could collapse. I didn't hide it to keep it for myself. I hid it until I could ensure it would be protected." The council exchanged glances. One of them, a Renari scholar named Velith, leaned forward. "And how do we know you would not use its power for your own kind's gain?" Before Aaron could answer, Nea stood up. Her voice was steady, though her hands trembled. "Because he saved me when he had every reason not to. He could have left me in the ruins and claimed he never saw me. Instead, he risked his life, not knowing if I would even survive. That is not the act of someone seeking selfish power. The chamber murmured with quiet discussion. Lyra added, "And if you doubt his intentions, then you doubt mine. I chose to trust him. I have seen his actions when no one was watching. He has done nothing but protect both our peoples." Sarath raised a hand to silence the chamber. "Words speak much, but actions speak more. Aaron, you will prove your loyalty through action. There's a mission, a dangerous one that requires someone who can act without bias. If you succeed, all doubts will be erased. If you fail, our alliance will break." Arn's jaw tightened. "What is the mission?" Velith activated a holo display. A projection of a distant, storm-covered world appeared. "This is Verathis. Once, it was a colony world. Now it is home to rogue machines that answer to no one. One of them has captured a Renari envoy and demands in exchange the artifact you found. In return for the envoy's release, we cannot give them the artifact, but we also cannot abandon the envoy." Aaron understood immediately. "So you want me to rescue the envoy without handing over the artifact?" "Exactly," Velith replied. "If you can achieve this, you will prove yourself beyond all doubt." The weight of the task settled on Arn's shoulders. This was more than a rescue. It was a test of his loyalty, his skill, and his ability to navigate danger without triggering war. He looked toward Lyra and Nea. Their eyes told him they trusted him completely. "That was enough. I'll do it," he said firmly. The council dismissed him to prepare. Outside the chamber, Lyra walked beside him. "Verathis is not just dangerous," she warned. "The storms there can strip metal from ships. You'll need more than courage. You'll need a plan." "I've got one forming already," Aaron said. "But I'll need help." Nea stepped forward. "Then you have mine. I know the patterns of Renari machine logic. I can predict their moves." Lyra hesitated. "You both realize this could. And with all of us trapped there?" Aaron gave a small smile. "Then we'll just have to make sure it doesn't." They spent the next hours gathering supplies and preparing a small stealth ship. Verathis was far, but speed was not the goal. Stealth was. The machines would detect anything approaching too quickly. As the ship lifted off, the swirling blue of Renari's skies faded behind them. Ahead lay a storm world, a hostage, and a trial that would decide the fate of an alliance. Aaron tightened his grip on the controls. The council wanted proof of loyalty. They were about to get it. Aaron stood on the command deck of the starship Horizon's Light. The deep hum of the engines filled the room, a steady reminder that they were on the last leg of their mission. Beyond the wide viewing glass, the stars stretched endlessly, but his eyes were fixed on the distant blue and green sphere ahead, Earth, beside him. Lyra stood quietly. She had been silent for most of the journey, her mind deep in thought. Her sister, Naya, was seated at the communication console, scanning incoming signals. The sisters had come a long way from the day Aaron first met them. Back then, they were strangers from a distant world, uncertain of human ways and unsure of his trust. Now, they were allies and friends. "Landing sequence will begin in 2 hours," Naya said, her voice calm but with a trace of excitement. "We'll be home soon." Aaron gave a small nod. "Not just home. We'll be bringing them hope." The hope he spoke of was the sealed crystal core resting in a protective case. At the center of the deck, inside it lay the recorded knowledge of 3 alien civilizations, a gift they had risked their lives to secure. It contained advancements in medicine, energy, and exploration. It could change Earth's future forever. But it had not been given freely. They had earned it through trials, battles, and proof of trust. As the ship drifted closer to Earth's orbit, an alert tone rang out. "Incoming message." Naya reported, "It's from the Council of Terra." Arn's jaw tightened. The council was powerful, but not always wise. He remembered their reluctance to support his mission months ago. Put it through. A man's voice came through the speakers. "Captain Aaron, the council welcomes your return. You are ordered to dock at Station Helios for inspection. The core is to be transferred into council custody immediately." Aaron exchanged a glance with Lyra. He could see the question in her eyes. If the council took the core, there was no telling if the knowledge would ever reach the people who truly needed it. "Counselor." Aaron replied evenly, "This knowledge was given to humanity, not to a handful of officials. I intend to deliver." it directly to the Global Science Assembly. That is not your decision to make, the voice snapped. Dock at Station Helios or face charges of treason. The channel went silent. The crew looked at Aaron. He could feel the weight of their trust on his shoulders. Slowly, he spoke. We didn't come all this way to hide this knowledge. We risked our lives for it. We are going to the assembly. No, one argued. Naya entered the new coordinates without hesitation. The ship adjusted course. Bypassing Station Helios, within an hour, 2 interceptor ships appeared on their scanners. Moving to block them, they're hailing us, Naya said. Ignore them, Aaron replied. Keep course steady. The interceptors moved closer. Energy readings spiked. They were locking weapons. Shields up, Aaron ordered. Lyra, prepare evasive maneuvers. The interceptors fired warning shots, streaks of light passing. Close to the hull. Lyra's hands moved quickly over the controls, weaving the ship through the barrage. The horizon's light was fast, but the interceptors were designed for pursuit. This will not work for long, Lyra said. Aaron thought quickly. Naya, open a secure channel to the assembly. Send them the full message, our coordinates, our mission log, and a copy of the knowledge in the core. If the council stops us, they will not stop the truth from spreading. Naya worked fast, message sent. The interceptors closed in. One managed to land a glancing hit, shaking the deck. The ship's alarms wailed, but the shields held. Aaron, incoming transmission from the assembly. Naya said suddenly. A calm voice filled the bridge. Captain Aaron, your transmission has been received and verified. We are dispatching defense vessels to escort you. Hold your course. Relief spread across the crew. Within minutes, 3 large assembly ships appeared, positioning themselves between the horizon's light and the interceptors, outmatched. The council's ships broke off and retreated. Lyra let out a slow breath. We made it. When the ship finally docked at the assembly's orbital platform, a delegation was waiting. Scientists, explorers, and leaders from across the world stood ready. Aaron stepped forward with the crystal core in his hands. This, he said, holding it high, is not mine. It is not the property of the council. It belongs to all of humanity. Use it well. The crowd erupted into cheers. Later, as the sun rose over Earth's horizon, Aaron stood beside Lyra and Naya, watching their home grow larger in the viewport. You both could have returned to your own world, he said. We could, Lyra replied with a small smile. But this is our home now, too. Naya nodded. Besides, humans still have much to learn, and we can help. Aaron felt a quiet pride. The mission was over, but the journey of trust and cooperation between species had only begun. Humanity had stood its ground and earned its place among the stars. The horizon's light turned slowly, heading for the blue planet below.